Well, good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk here in Cleveland. We have to get to some breaking news. This is a little convoluted, so we want to get you all the facts. There were two shootings overnight in Cleveland with multiple people involved, multiple people hurt. And it's just ironic, it's coincidental that both of these shootings happened on West 6th. And while most people's minds in Cleveland, when you hear West 6th, you think of the warehouse district downtown. Yes, that is the site of what's being called a mass shooting. Keep in mind, and this is a little callous, a mass shooting is described as 4 people or more hit in a public place by gun violence with bullets, and that was the case last night at 2:30 on West 6th in the warehouse district. But before that happened, and we're talking early this morning, 2:30 this morning, before the warehouse district mass shooting where 9 people were hurt, we have to talk about West 6th in Tremont. Yes, both happened on West 6th, but miles apart, and they are not believed to be connected. First of all, let's show you where this shooting happened in Tremont. It is right off of 490. You can see downtown Cleveland there. This red bullet point is where the shooting took place, the block area. This is on the back side of Tremont. There is a housing development back there, and it is the site of where 3 people were shot, 3 men, one 24-year-old who had a gunshot wound to the right side, left arm, and right lower leg. He was taken to Metro Health. Again, this happened at about 1:10 a.m. And then we also had a 23-year-old man who was shot in the back and the stomach. And then there was yet a third man, we're not sure of the age, that was also taken to Metro Health by a private vehicle. Someone drove that third injured man to Metro, and he was shot in the abdomen. So again, we have to differentiate the two shootings. Just coincidentally, they both happened on West 6th, but one happened in downtown, one happened in Tremont. Let's now get to the mass shooting on West 6th in the warehouse district. We're going to bring in now Katie Wilson for us. She is live on West 6th. Katie, we are expecting to hear from Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb at about 1 o'clock. We will wait for that news conference, but Katie, walk us through what we know about the mass shooting, the time, the details. Show us what's there now, and do we know which establishment? 2:30 in the morning, this is a bar district, so that is probably going to play a role in this. Walk us through what we know so far.
Sure. So, Dan, this happened about 2:30 this morning. This happened on the 1200 block right now of West 6th. This is right near Johnson Court. So this is right near where a lot of businesses are open until very early in the morning. Entertainment places, bars, clubs, such as the Velvet Dog that I'm staring at right now, Rumor, Spirits, to my left over here, Barley House. So we don't have a specific establishment that people were outside when this happened, but here's what we do know. Somewhere in this area, again, the 1200 block of West 6th, we know a group was standing outside. 9 people were hit with gunshots. So police are saying from preliminary reports that someone, a suspect, they have not been able to specify man or woman, a suspect opened fire on a group of people. 9 people were hit by bullets. They were taken to Metro Health, to the hospital. So at this point, we don't have specifics on how bad these injuries are. We do know, though, thank God, no fatal injuries at this point. But right now, we're just waiting for any type of specifics. We don't have any sort of arrest right now that police have been talking about. So we're hoping during this press conference, we get a little bit more information on if police have any sort of leads, what they found out early this morning. Something else worth mentioning, I mean, right now it's, 12:13 p.m. and I mean, all crime scene, everything from the scene is now cleaned up. So things look relatively normal. So now we're just basically waiting to find out more information. Hopefully we get a little bit more on these victims and get an update on their injuries.
And Katie, I was just watching the video that was playing while you were giving us that report. I can tell you from the video, the shell casings are right outside of the parking lot next door to Barley House. So that's across the street from you. You can see the iron gates. There's sort of a picket fence of an iron fence that sort of attaches to the side of Barley House. We're going to play that video again, and it actually starts with cell phone video sent in to us by a viewer, Miles Bell, who reported hearing multiple shots, and then took this video that we're looking at here. Again, this is the warehouse district, but in a second, this is the video I'm referring to, our photographer there with the scene video. That's the parking lot that connects next door to Barley House. You can see a concentration of the evidence markers, what look like perhaps shell casings. And we want to reiterate, Katie, walk us through. Again, we have these two major shootings, but nobody killed at this point. That just seems almost hard to believe, but when we have these two separate shootings, one in Tremont, one in downtown, no fatalities at this point.
Yeah, and that's something you certainly have to be so grateful for. Miraculous, you could even call it. Again, 9 people were shot here, all of them taken to the hospital for those gunshot wounds. But again, Dan, we don't have specifics as to how severe those injuries are. No idea if any are in critical condition. We just know at this point, no fatal injuries. But yeah, as you were saying, apparently, I mean, I wasn't here when we were first reporting this, but if there were shell casings right by the parking lot of Barley House, it may have been more towards the left of me than to my right. Again, right now, everything is cleaned up, so it's hard to tell what things were looking like, but I know police were hard at work for hours this morning collecting that evidence. I'm sure they were talking to a lot of witnesses, and I know also they've been speaking to some of the gunshot victims who are able to speak at Metro Health in the hospital. So again, we're hoping that we get more answers today, but certainly so grateful and so happy to be able to report that there were no deaths.
And Katie, I believe you're out there with our photojournalist, Al Taylor. Can you get Al, can he pan over to that parking lot so people can see sort of in the daytime? Maybe they didn't recognize it at night. Maybe we can see the daytime video of just exactly where we're talking.
Sure. So, Al, right now, Dan is asking if we can pan over to the parking lot right to the right of Barley House. That's where a lot of... Okay, we're going to see if we can get the connection to stay still so we can do this and show you guys. Just to give viewers a better idea of where that crime scene was last night. So this is the parking lot right to the right of Barley House. And again, this morning, it looks as if nothing happened. But I know last night, plenty of shell casings, police, swarming the area. So this is just to give you guys a better idea of where this all went down early this morning. Again, 1200 block of West 6th, right near the intersection of Johnson Court, but again, right to the right of Barley House.
Yeah, and let's think about, yes, West 6th, Warehouse District, very popular destination on a weekend. Here you have a Saturday night, you have alcohol involved. It's 2:30 is when these shots rang out. That is last call, that is bar closing time. So, of course, that is more than likely going to play a role. We will wait for police to give us some confirmation on that. Perhaps we will get that from Mayor Bibb. But again, a very violent night in Cleveland. We have 2 separate shooting scenes. They just so happen, coincidentally, to take place on West 6th. But West 6th, a couple of miles apart. One of them in downtown, the other shooting, and we've got video here of just after 1 in the morning. This is video from the West 6th. It's the 2500 block of West 6th in Tremont. There is a housing development on the back side of that area. We can see police were trying to talk with neighbors that have security cameras in that area. This happened at 1:10 a.m. Again, I want to make sure everybody's very clear on this. In case you're just joining us, there were two separate shootings last night. They are not believed to be connected, according to police. One of them took place on West 6th in Tremont, in the 2500 block of West 6th in Tremont. A lot of people may not have known there was a West 6th in Tremont. So that is the first shooting that happened. That was at 1:10 a.m. 3 men were hit in that attack. A 24-year-old man with a gunshot to the right side, left arm and right lower leg. He was taken to Metro. There was a 23-year-old man who was hit in the back and the stomach. And then there's a third man that we don't have an age of who was taken. Someone drove him to Metro separately, and he had a gunshot wound to the stomach or the abdomen in that situation. So then after we get done with Tremont, then it's an hour and 20 minutes later that this is some of the aftermath video. This is cell phone video from a viewer who reported hearing those multiple shots and 9 people hit. We're going to go back to Katie just one last time for the details on the West 6th Warehouse District shooting. Katie, walk us through so far what we know. And again, just somehow no one killed in either of these shootings. Granted, a lot of them probably still in the hospital. We don't know the condition of all of them. But walk us through again the details of the West 6th Warehouse shooting.
Yeah, Dan, so the West 6 happened a little bit after Tremont. It was around 2:30 this morning. Happened on the 1200 block of West 6, right around where Barley House is, which is what you're looking at. What we know is that a group was standing outside, and that's when police are saying a suspect opened fire on this group and then just took off. So 9 people ended up with gunshot wounds, all taken to Metro Health Hospital. As you were saying, thank God, no deaths right now, but we don't know any specifics as to how severe these injuries are, whether anyone is in critical condition, if anyone's been released from the hospital. But 9 people shot overnight. About 2:30 here on West 6, the 1200 block. Police right now do not, they have not made any arrests as of now. They haven't given us any more information on a suspect. We do know that there is a $5,000 reward for any information leading to some sort of arrest. Of course, you can always, or they welcome you to call Cleveland Police, or even you can stay anonymous and call Crime Stoppers to help them catch their suspect. We're hoping to learn a little bit more on what exactly happened, what police have learned from investigating early this morning, and those witness interviews, as well as speaking with some of the gunshot victims themselves. So we'll bring any new information to you guys later on after this press conference here at 1 p.m. hosted by the mayor and the chief of police.
Yeah, Katie, the mayor is going to be speaking right where you are at. That is scheduled for 1 o'clock. The mayor's got a problem on his hands. Katie, even during your live shot there, I was seeing people walking on West 6 to go to the Guardians game. The Guardians play a game at 1 o'clock. You have that happening less than a half a mile from the stadium. You've got people coming in from the suburbs downtown, and you have a mayor dealing with a mass shooting. 9 people hit with bullets. 2:30 in the morning. Granted, 2 completely different crowds going to the Guardians game, and the crowd that's hanging out on West 6th at 2:30 in the morning. Obviously 2 very separate crowds, but the mayor has got a little bit of an issue on his hands when we see yet another shooting. There was a shooting just last week on Public Square that took the life of a man. There have been a couple of other incidents downtown. The mayor is going to know he has an issue and needs to get out in front of this. Katie, we were talking about the reward. I want to put up the number from Crime Stoppers. We work with Crime Stoppers every week on a segment, and this is the phone number you call. Money has been a major motivator when we do our Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. There is a $5,000 reward on the line. Crime Stoppers has already said that. You can call this number, 216-252-7463. You get to remain anonymous. We hear it every week from the detectives with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department. They don't record your phone call. They don't have caller ID. They don't want your name. You can call in a tip to that number, and they will, the way the reward works, you might be asking, well, how am I going to get the reward if they don't know my name? The way that works is you are given a tip number. You call in and you are caller blah, 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 and they give you an identification number. That way down the road, if your tip led to that arrest, you call back in, you give them that tip number, and if your tip led to the arrest, you are eligible for that up to $5,000 reward. That's why we're keeping this phone number up there. It is very simple to call a number. Hey, I was in the car. I know the person it was. My boyfriend, my girlfriend called me, said it was this person who pulled out a gun. Maybe it was a fight in the bar. It is that simple. You give them even the smallest little tip, and they may be able to track this down. I'm going to cut you loose here, Katie, because we know you and your photographer, Al Taylor, need to get ready for this news conference. Katie, I want to thank you for checking in with us, giving us some eyes on the ground there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, take care. Folks, we're going to have this covered. Obviously, it is a Sunday, but there is no break in the news cycle, especially when we have a mass shooting smack in the heart of downtown Cleveland, and that happened roughly an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm getting some new news here. I'm going to start this, and actually we have a Congresswoman Brown has issued a statement. She represents the 11th district here in Cleveland. As we look at the scene video, again, the first video you're going to see is from a cell phone video from someone, a viewer who sent it in to us. Said he heard multiple shots and started taking video out of his window. Again, here is the statement from Congresswoman Brown, Chantel Brown. Here is the following statement on the mass shooting early Sunday morning in Cleveland. The Congresswoman says, quote, "I am horrified by the shooting last night in Cleveland. My office is in contact with local authorities and is monitoring the situation. I am deeply thankful to the officers and first responders at the scene." Congresswoman Brown goes on to say gun violence is devastating Northeast Ohio and Clevelanders deserve to be safe. This epidemic is tearing at the fabric of our communities, and it will not end without significant legislative action. Congresswoman Brown saying the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was signed into law last year, shows that Congress can take action if we keep listening to our constituents, not the gun lobby. This legislation strengthened background checks, provided funding for enforcing red flag laws, and disarming domestic abusers, support for community violence intervention, and school safety funding, and more. She goes on to finish her statement saying, now there is more work to do, including establishing truly universal background checks, banning assault weapons and large capacity ammunition feeding devices, closing more loopholes related to illegal gun purchases, cracking down on gun trafficking, and more. Perhaps the Congresswoman in her statement there, illegal gun purchases. We will wait to see what this shooting was, but was this an assault rifle? Was this a gun that was purchased at a gun store legally? Or was this the kind of guns that we are all too familiar with in Cleveland? The rampant illegal guns that are on our streets that are trading hands through individuals and used to carry out mass shootings. This is not the type of mass shooting that we see in a school or in a grocery store or in a mall. Unfortunately, as we have become familiar with, this is a 2:30 in the morning shooting outside of a bar, a busy bar district. We are not saying any one particular bar was involved in this. We will wait for the Cleveland Police Department to get that. We know it was a group of individuals who were standing outside, as we have all seen at 2:30 in the morning when the bars clear out. There's a lot of people standing around on sidewalks, and at 2:30 in the morning with alcohol and guns involved, it is a bad combination. Again, in both shootings, the one that happened in Tremont and the one that happened in downtown Cleveland, no one has died at this point. And we have to preface it by saying at this point, because we don't know the condition of the 9 people who were taken to various hospitals in and around downtown, the overwhelming majority more than likely taken to Metro Health. And I want you to think about that. Think about the doctors in the emergency room at the Level 1 Trauma Center at Metro Health. You have the Tremont shooting that happens at 1:10. You have 3 men who come in, shot in multiple locations, their arms, their back, their stomachs, and just an hour and 20 minutes later, now you have 9 more gunshot victims being brought into an emergency room. Think about the night that doctors, nurses, surgeons had at Metro Health last night. Put that into perspective when we start talking about the need to do something. Something has to change, and we believe that will be the message from Mayor Justin Bibb. Again, he'll be speaking in just about a half an hour. We will come back with you live to cover that, and we have multiple reporters already on the ground working this story to see what's going to change, what needs to happen to make Cleveland a little bit safer, as Congresswoman Brown has asked for. We will see you at 1 o'clock for the breaking news of the mayor. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CT